Standard economic models often cite capital, financial markets, and human ingenuity as the primary drivers of modern civilization. This creates a shared belief that our economy runs on money. In physical terms, the global economy depends on the continuous flow of real energy and materials. You can't eat a dollar of burning through this one-time geological inheritance. To understand the scale of this subsidy, we have to look at the work potential involved. A single 42-gallon barrel of oil contains roughly 1,700 kilowatt-hours of potential work. When combined with machines, that single barrel replaces 5 to 11 years of physical human labor. Every year, humanity burns 100 billion barrel equivalents of fossil hydrocarbons. This equates to a phantom workforce of 500 billion invisible energy laborers working 24/7 alongside our actual population. This chart shows the strict linear correlation between global GDP and physical oil consumption. This invisible workforce drives everything from global shipping routes to the industrial fertilizers required for basic food production. Modern civilization is highly leveraged on a temporary, unpaid workforce that remains completely unaccounted for in our financial systems. For most of history, humans survived on the interest of current sunlight, using crops, wood, and muscle. Since 1859, we have transitioned to draining the Earth's buried principle. Oil is liquid, energy-dense, and highly portable. These physical properties allowed industrial systems to optimize for absolute power and speed, rather than long-term efficiency. This optimization for power triggered the Great Acceleration, an era of explosive growth in both human population and the volume of materials we move through the economy. Biologists use the term plague phase to describe what happens when any species is suddenly exposed to an environment of unlimited resources. Despite our technology, human macroeconomic behavior follows the same trajectory as a bacterial colony expanding to the absolute limits of its petri dish. The primary metric for the survival of an industrial system is energy return on investment, or EROI. It measures the energy required to acquire new energy. In the early days of the oil industry, the EROI was high. A tiny investment of energy could yield a massive, high-pressure gusher. This image shows the complex industrial infrastructure now required to acquire new energy. Today, we must shatter deep bedrock and drill in hostile offshore environments, burning more energy simply to keep the flow constant. To maintain this flow, humans are competitively displacing other species, appropriating the planet's total energy and landmass for a single industrial subsystem. This creates a state of ecological overshoot. Human consumption currently uses the biosphere 75% faster than natural systems can regenerate it. As extraction costs rise and the biosphere's capacity to absorb waste breaks down, the status quo becomes physically impossible to maintain. Many current plans rely on the concept of decoupling, the idea that the economy can grow forever while becoming less dependent on the natural world. Solar and wind are vital tools, but they provide energy that is diffuse and intermittent. At our current global scale, they cannot replicate the concentrated, on-demand power of cheap oil. Constructing a global renewable grid requires a massive upfront expenditure of our remaining energy-dense fossil fuels to mine, ship, and process the necessary minerals. Financial debt represents a claim on future work, which requires a claim on future energy. If we print money to maintain growth while our net energy supplies are actually shrinking, we guarantee a steeper physical crash when those claims cannot be honored. The plague phase of human expansion is over. The only remaining variable is whether we actively manage our descent or let physics dictate the outcome. Survival now requires preparing for a great simplification, a consciously managed contraction of our global energy and material footprint. This means abandoning centralized linear extraction models in favor of localized, resilient supply chains that can function with lower energy inputs. We must shift from growth-focused economics toward regenerative systems. In these models, soil health and nutrient cycling serve as the primary indicators of success, rather than total financial throughput. Civilization must transition back to living on the interest of current solar energy, rather than continuing to drain the principle of ancient carbon. Realigning our civilization with the thermodynamic and biological laws of the Earth represents the only viable strategy for surviving the end of the carbon pulse. We have built our world on a high-stakes assumption that our industrial momentum is as unsinkable as the steel hulls we once set into the Atlantic. But the elephant in the room has grown too large to ignore, moving out of our private shadows and into the center of our lives. This is the meta-crisis, the tipping point where the stories of endless growth collide with the physical limits of our planet. It reduces us to passengers, waiting like roadkill on the side of a life we no longer control, paralyzed by the headlines, watching for the next wave to break. Yet, when the ship finally cracks, the passenger's role ends, and the adventurer's begins. The very failure of the old world becomes a direct call to a planetary adventure. This is the invitation to step out of the heavy aura of the past and into the absolute power of the present moment. The Lifeboat Mini Course is your immediate, structured transition, a free 5-day journey delivered to your inbox to transform global anxiety into local resilience. As the unsinkable systems fracture, we must stop asking for permission and start acting as co-creators of the cosmos, mapping a new way forward through our own backyards. Day 1 begins with an audit of the invisible, the energy and water systems you rely on every hour, yet rarely ever see. Day 2 forces a change in your geographical lens, challenging you to locate your true home within your watershed and local bioregion. You won't navigate this terrain alone. You will receive daily study guides and synthesized patterns designed to cut through the noise and reveal the architecture of change. Day 3 asks you to practice active hope in a world facing ecological overshoot. Day 4 introduces the demanding standard of revolutionary love. By tracing the water back to your neighbor's tap, you move beyond the narrow walls of self-help and into the expansive, interconnected practice of systems health. The climax arrives on Day 5 with the introduction of a specific framework for your future, the 9x21 harvest. You will commit to 9 concrete actions to be executed over the next 9 days, weeks, or years to build your cosmic legacy. You will then write the 7-generation letter, speaking across time to a resident of your town in the year 2026 to explain the uncommon choices you made today. This legacy is a unified dance, a work of restoration that cannot be built in isolation. Who is your mutual guiding spirit in this transition, and which 9 things will you choose to do? Stop waiting for the headlines to crush you. Sign up for the Lifeboat Mini Course now. Access your Day 1 materials immediately and join the community hub where the next story of our world is already being written. You can remain tied to the illusion of a collapsing global credit card, or take this course to begin building real systems health today. The Earth is tired of the lie. It is time to dance with the truth.